Hello and welcome to the Thomas Benjamin Wild Esquire podcast. Joining me today, I have the fantastic Mr. Victor Ghastly.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about various different things. So, hello, Victor Ghastly.
Hello, how's it going? You all right?
Not too bad. Not too
It's
bad.
good to see you. Your beard's got even more manly-ish.
I've managed one trim of the beard. Yeah, your moustache is looking ever beautiful.
Yeah. The moustache is still going good actually. I've been quite lucky with the trimming. I had the girlfriend shave me hair and that, but I was
pretty good hair shaving, to be quite honest.
Yeah, she's done a good job. It's quite funny actually. One of my neighbours, he's the most grumpiest neighbour. Like he just kind of, when he walks past, he just kind of grunts at you. And then I was outside having a barbecue because I live in a block of flats, and he came back. He's like, "Oh, your hair looks good. How'd you do it?" And I was like, "Oh, just cut it myself." He's like, "Have you got some scissors? Can I borrow some scissors?" He was like desperate for this, like just to cut his hair.
They've become like gold dust, haven't they? Scissors, decent hairdressing scissors, and clippers. I had to order some clippers online the other week. The only ones I could get were kind of non-brand, or they were called eye clipper.
Oh, nice.
Professional status is like I didn't quite believe that.
What's so annoying is that my mum's a hairdresser, but I can't get her to cut my she obviously against the rules for her to cut my hair.
I mean my partner Sarah's had a go, so we just did very, very subtle things. So she trimmed the beard down, which actually worked quite nicely. And we went kind of like number 4 at the sides of the hair or something like that. Just to err on the side.
But we're not going out anywhere anyway.
This is it. But I'm doing videos constantly, and so I need to look. I need to look at least half decent. So yeah, kind of some of the videos I'm doing is going a little bit wild.
Yeah.
Some of those.
We.
No pun intended. So what have you been doing? What have you been up to during the lockdown?
Mainly masturbating. So obviously we've now got the new lineup of Victor and the Bully, and it was all setting up to be, our year. Big lineup. I'm one of the Joe Marshall's Crowboy. He's like the new bully. Yeah. He's like my best friend. So we were so excited for all these gigs and blah blah. And now we've got a girl in Victor and the Bully too, Halo. She's absolutely wonderful, crazy as a box of frogs, and we were so looking forward to like all these shows coming up, and they're all out the window.
So just to give some kind of context a little bit before you kind of carry on, you work under Victor Ghastly, which is your kind of solo project, isn't it?
Yeah. So Victor Ghastly's Electric Timebomb is my solo electro swing project.
Mm-hmm. And Victor and the Bully is the
main baby. That's the main product. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Victor and the Bully used to be just a duo, but the character known as the Bully left, and now the Bully part is more of an umbrella name than an actual specific person. I've been going for about 5 years now, probably about 6 years actually. But so we've got this new lineup that I was so excited for, and then it's all gone out the window. But then we wanted to, like, we're working on a new album at the moment, for Victor and the Bully, but it's so hard to write when you can't be in the same room together.
Yeah.
Because even though we're trying to get some bits done. And we're constantly like sending each other like WhatsApp messages and audio files over WhatsApp. It's still not the same as just being in the same room. In the same room
as someone else, and kind of actually being able to bounce ideas off each other, rather than having to wait for them to pick up an email and then for you to have to pick up one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, we don't want to release an album that we didn't write in the same room together.
Yeah.
It takes out the fun of writing an album. If you've just done it all over email, it's a bit naff, So yeah, but we're still writing. We're still at least getting the skeleton done, so that when we can meet up properly and crack on, we've got all the bones and bits to go, and we just have to, put it all together, put on the meat on it. But so that's, I mean, I haven't been able to do any live shows on Facebook because I got banned.
Why did you get banned?
I shared an anti-Nazi post.
Right. And that gets you banned from Facebook, does it?
Well, the picture had a picture of a swastika in it.
Right.
And I think Facebook picked it up and was like, and so I've been banned. I've got 10 days left. So yeah.
When did that happen?
About 25 days ago. Yeah, and so I got banned for sharing a, fuck Nazis post. So I can't do live shows. So yeah, I've just been focusing on writing mainly. But it's so hard, I find, right now to find enthusiasm. It's so hard to, because there's no shows and real sort of way to be like, hey, I live for shows. I live for the weekend. Yeah. And I just find it, I'll sit down to write and then I'm like, oh, what's the point? And it's so hard to shake that off. And of course, when you're like, when you've got a big purpose to do it, then you've got all the energy in the world. But when you don't know when the next show's going to be, it's like we wanted to release an album for Asylum in Lincoln, big steampunk festival. Like it's the biggest there is, you know. And now Asylum's not happening. We're like, well, we don't want to.
I think we're all in this kind of weird position where it's only the start of the summer, and yet we know the whole season is already written off, and we've got nothing to do. And actually, I mean, where do you normally take your influence from writing songs, and has that kind of been impacted?
Well, one of the biggest things where I used to get influence from, is when I'm commuting to and from work, because that's when I listen. That's when I stick my head. I've got these gorgeous headphones, cost me an arm and a leg, and I would stick on, like, Spotify would be great for doing like, oh, do you like this band? Check out this band and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm not listening to music so much in the same capacity that I would, like, you'd listen to music while you're working from home and that sort of stuff, but it doesn't have that same impact of just having that headphones on and just, I mean, I can do it at work, but then you've got things like listening out for the doorbell. Yeah.
Well, my thing is I walk the dog.
Yeah.
That's that's where my ideas come from. And actually having that kind of process of walking to, but also on the walk to work is a bit of time where you've got your own kind of reflection time where you're completely with your own thoughts, isn't it? Yeah, completely. So I mean, sort of getting influences is all just sort of, I always find you nitpick from certain artists and certain songs and certain, they all sort of come from all over the place, don't they? Yeah. Even anything from, like, I'd be watching a film and I'd hear like a riff and, or not a riff, but like, and that would influence me, Yeah. But then with Victor and the Bully, we can kind of do any style of music and people would go, oh, that's Victor and the Bully. Like if I wrote a pirate song, people would still go, oh yeah, that's Victor and the Bully doing a pirate song.
Yeah. But then, if I did some, house song, people would still go, oh, it's Victor and the Bully. Yeah. Which is so we're quite lucky that we can write any style of music and people would be like, oh, all right, cool, got it. Like,
if you had to describe kind of Victor and the Bully and the style of music that you do, how would you describe it?
Now, this is always a tricky one, and probably every answer I've ever given has always been different. So it's a cross of circus, cabaret, horror, rockabilly, swing, house, mariachi, punk. Orchestral. It's just this weird mixing pot of all that stuff. And I mean, at the end of the day, we'll write a song that we like the sound of. we don't go, oh, that's not our sound. We'll just go, we've written so one of the new songs we've got for our new album that we haven't released it yet. It's called Danza De Los Muertos. And it's just a mariachi song. And it's one of our favorite songs to be playing at the moment. This mariachi, like, real Mexican sounding song.
So you've got a definite sound, I would say, and you're very much on the kind of, I guess, the steampunk scene, aren't you?
Steampunk.
How did that end up kind of? How did that end up kind of happening? How did you end up kind of on that scene?
So steampunk's our bread and butter. When it originally started, the idea was that we was just going to be like a band that opens up for other bands and just be a bit casual with it. And then, it's enjoying it. And then it was hard to find where we would fit in because we were playing all these random shows in London, and didn't fit in.
Yeah.
We'd be put on some heavy metal lineup, or some even if we got put on to like a punk lineup or something, like, we just didn't fit in. And because we had backing tracks, a lot of the audience were like, oh, and they didn't like the fact that we had backing tracks.
Yeah.
But then if we wanted to put trumpets and harpsichords and that sort of stuff, well, we'd need a 20-piece orchestra.
Yeah.
So then we decided to go down the cabaret scene.
Okay.
And like burlesque and that sort of stuff. That kind of, that umbrella of shows, which is fine. And we still do them now occasionally, but we found that there wasn't really much capacity for like a band. And it was very bitchy as well.
Okay.
Yeah, like we just like, and like we'd be trying to set up, but like all our equipment, and there'd be a burlesque dancer annoyed that we're taking too long setting up, and we're like, we've got a long time. We've got to set this.
I guess because those kind of nights are very much about getting on, getting off, getting on, getting off, and kind of like they do a set, or kind of then do a kind of an extended set. You'd have kind of a performance.
It was just like it's like boom, 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 and I'm like, well, we can't do that. We need to actually set up before we do it. So it was a tricky one. And then, so I saw there was, I've always been into steampunk. I've got a big steampunk tattoo from my neck to the bottom of my arse of this big Zeppelin, So I'm really into, but I didn't know there were steampunk events or a scene.
Yeah.
I was into it through films and computer games and that sort of stuff. And then I just looked on, it just came up. I think it was on like Facebook, like about this steampunk event called a Splendid Day Out in Morecambe. And I just sent a message and was like, hey, how's it going? This is Victor and the Bully. This is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh, we absolutely love you guys. You're definitely hired. We would like you to come play during the day in like our market area.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. This is going to be different. I was like, they were putting us up in a hotel, paid for our train, blah, 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 blah. And we were still new on the scene. So it was like, oh, this is interesting. This is something completely different, So then what happened was we got there and the PA system they had was so bad. And it took us like 5 hours to get there. The PA system was so bad, we literally couldn't play. It was just embarrassing. We were awful. And the organisers felt so bad for this. They said, well, we've got an evening show. We can add you on as like the opening act of our evening show instead. Like we were just going to like, we'll bring the bands on sort of in a different slot order because they were just going to do like a DJ set at the end. And so they put us on and we absolutely tore the roof off. And then so we tore the roof off. And then it just kind of went from there. We had such a good time. We realized there was a steampunk scene and we started messaging all these steampunk organizers and events and blah, 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 blah. And it just went from there. It's just been a snowball effect, it's just great.
But yes, I mean, what other bands kind of would you say fit into that onto that scene as well? Are there the kind of other acts that you perform with on a regular basis?
Yeah, so a wonderful performer is a guy called Montague Jacques Fromage. He does steampunk funk. He's in his 70s. He's the most wonderful guy, and he said he says it best. He said, "There's no such thing as steampunk music.
No.
Only music steampunks like." Which is so true, because we've got Victor and the Bully, who are weird circusy whatever. Then you've got Professor Elemental, who does chat pop. You've got Mr. B, who isn't technically steampunk.
No, Mr. B very much kind of operates on outside of all of that as well.
So. Exactly, and yet he's known as one of the biggest steampunk performers. You've got Alice's Night Circus, and with a terrific voice. Then you've got bands like the Wattingers, who, the Wattingers are like swamp rock metal. Like they have this like deep South, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe. There's Lady Violet Hugh, who just sings like these songs with lots of innuendo. There's so many, this is the biggest thing that I love about bands in the steampunk scene, and also like meeting you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we met through a steampunk event last year.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing, like I used to be in a rockabilly, like psychobilly band, playing double bass, but none of the bands ever spoke to each other. Everyone was all in their own. It was almost like they were competing.
Yeah.
But in steampunk, all the bands help each other. All the bands support each other. All the bands go all the bands, post your stuff on our page and we'll share it and blah, 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 blah. And that's one of the greatest things about these steampunk bands, because they're all helping each other, because then we all grow together. And we can all, enjoy each other's fans. And that's how we build up a fan base.
So what are the kind of things that bring together the people on the same steampunk scene then? What kind of shared interest is there? Because you say the kind of the music is very, very different, isn't it? So what would you see as being the shared interest there?
I think it's community, to be honest. I think it's such escapism going to a steampunk event. You've got the wonderful market stalls. There's a lot of drinking involved. And the more people go to steampunk events, the more friends. Everyone's so friendly because everyone's spending the whole day complimenting each other, going, "Oh, I love your outfit. I love your dress. I love your hat. I love your, whatever." I mean, the perfect example is that last year we played a gig in Whitby, and I was going to take someone, and she couldn't come. So I had a spare train ticket and a spare hotel room. So I said to my dad, "Do you want to come?" And my dad obviously knows about steampunk, but he's not, he's just, that's what my son's into type thing. So I said, honestly, we'll have a great time, bit of a father and son time, we can, grab beers and whatever. And he was like, "Yeah, all right." He said, "I'm not dressing up or anything like that. Like, I don't want to do any of that." And I'm like, "No, you don't have to. Just come and have a good time." So I gave him a Victor and the Bully t-shirt just so he felt a bit part of it. Well, we went to Whitby, and he spent the entire day going, "Oh, look at that guy. Oh, I like that. I like that. I like that." And then he said to me, "When I come next year, I think I'll go with like something like that outfit." And I was like, "Oh, next year?" And he was like, "Yeah, well, it's fun, isn't it?" And I'm like, "There, he's had the hook around him now." So, and then he got home and booked a hotel like that week. He got home and he booked a hotel for next year. Well, this year it's been cancelled now. But he had it all booked because he enjoyed it so much. And that's it. He met people, having beers with them who'd never met, and he had the best laugh with these strangers who he's never met.
I mean, from my limited experience, obviously I came down. The first steampunk gig I did was actually the first one I did was last February, which was for Malika's in fact Rostov's birthday.
Okay,
cool. With Mr. B, because they booked me to play in November at the Space Centre.
Yeah.
But that was obviously kind of months and months and months away. So I played at that, and I met a few people there. And then the next one that I did, the next steampunk event that I did was with you guys down in Gosport. And then I did another one in November, and then another one in December.
Nice.
I was set to be kind of really becoming part of the steampunk community this year, and then everything went to shit.
But I've got to say, the steampunks are very loyal.
Yeah,
and you're not, you certainly don't get forgotten about.
Absolutely.
And where it is such a community and everyone helping each other, everyone is, I always say we're so so lucky to be in that scene. And I've been in bands before, and you could do all the promotion in the world, and yet you'd still play to 10 people.
Yeah.
But then with the steampunk event, there's always people. You're always playing to a great crowd.
Yeah. And also, you've got a crowd who love to buy merchandise and love to buy kind of CDs, love to kind of actually spend some money. They love to support, and especially when they see that their money they're spending is then being invested into growing yourself, because they love you, and it's we've got fans that turn up with big devil horns and all this sort of stuff, and we've got a following, and it becomes to a point where you're not playing to fans, you're playing to friends. Yeah.
So yeah, very lucky to be involved in the steampunk community.
So you have another job, don't you?
Yeah.
What is it that you do as a day job?
I'm an insurance technician.
So how does it compare going from kind of a weekend of kind of playing gigs to kind of fun crowds and then kind of going back to that?
I'll be honest, I crash. I have such a wonderful time at these gigs, and normally they're like over a whole weekend. You'd sometimes go from Friday to Sunday, get home Sunday. Sometimes it's Saturday night, and I won't get home till Sunday till 4:00. And then I've got to get up for work, and then I'm sitting at my desk, and I'm like, yesterday I was playing to all these people, and now I'm just at my desk doing insurance. And so luckily we was allowed to work from home anyway. So I worked from home every Monday. Yeah. Purely so I could just be at home and just get over that slump. That
kind of, you have that kind of it's the anticlimax, isn't it? After those kind of things, you kind of go away at the end and then have to go back home, and back to normal life again.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's when you've had such a great weekend, you've been on stage, you've seen all your friends, you've had a few beers, and then you go back to just the emails on the Monday morning. It's like, but then you've got another gig coming up.
Yeah.
So you're constantly going up and down with the emotions of it, but you just got to do it.
Well, this is what I've been finding but with the lockdown going on at the moment, it is difficult. It's difficult finding that motivation for actually doing things, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
When you haven't got that kind of
that's
stuff to look forward to, isn't it? Really.
That's the thing, Like I'm going to the zoo on Friday, and I'm so excited. Just because it's something to do. Like I've never really been I like going to the zoo, but I mean, it's a zoo,
Yeah.
But now I'm like so excited.
We're meeting some friends in the park on Friday. Yeah. And actually, it's like, oh, this is something to look forward to. And now we've got to think about what we're going to wear and all this kind of stuff. It's amazing kind of how perspectives on things that you wouldn't have imagined were that exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's like yesterday. Yesterday I went to the beach in Folkestone, which was about an hour drive from where I live, and just to meet Joe, my guitarist, for a social distance picnic, and it was amazing. When I saw my mate, I honestly could have cried. It's just, because
there's one thing talking to somebody like this across Zoom, and doing these kind of discussions online. Have you been doing a lot of these, by the way? A lot of kind of just catching up with friends online and stuff.
I'm finding them dying down a bit now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's me. Maybe they don't want to talk to me. But I think when this all happened, everyone was, I was almost on a Zoom thing every day. Yeah. But now not so much. But one thing I did set up at the beginning of this was a thing called the Sinner Sanctuary.
Yeah.
Which was it was a Zoom room with the same code, which was 666-365-6660. There's no password on it. And every day people go on it at 8:00 and just chat.
Yeah, so it's a community.
Yeah, but what's been great, it's we've had the US steampunks and the UK steampunks meeting up who would have never have met really. And now they're talking about going over and all this sort of stuff. So it's become a great little community through the Sinner Sanctuary.
That's really cool. I didn't realize you'd been doing that. Actually, I didn't realize that was.
It's been going since pretty much since lockdown happened, but we've done a few game nights as well. But the main reason we have a lunch club at 1, and then evening club at 8. But the whole thing's open, so you can come in and out as you wish, because it's so hard for some people to just work from home by themselves, especially when they couldn't see anyone. So I wanted to create somewhere where they could pop in and out and just chat, whether it's during their lunch break and go, hey, how's it going? Yeah, you're right, and they go, all right, cool, I've got to go back to work. All right. And just this open forum, really.
Who have you been on lockdown with then? You're not by yourself, are you?
I was by myself. But I live by myself and my girlfriend lives by herself. So just kind of floating between us. But we've been like hermits. We haven't seen anyone done anything.
We've been the same. We've been just shut down. We've been going out to do post runs every so often. Yeah. But that's been it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I have been doing, because I'm not really into my exercise. I've probably put on a few pounds from all my snacky snacks.
We can't get hold of any bloody snacky snacks. We've been really healthy, because the only food we've been able to get is from kind of fresh delivery, local kind of source stuff. Because it's
yeah. But I haven't been doing my exercise. But I've got a longboard, and I've been going out because I used to skateboard when I was younger. But now I've got a longboard. I've been going out on this longboard, and I am loving it. I'm getting like. Like this huge bit of tarmac to a co-op from my flat to this co-op, and I'm getting like 15 miles an hour, just bolting it down. It's great.
So back to gigging. What places are you looking forward to performing at the most when all of this is over?
Asylum is always the big one. I love, Asylum is just stepping into a different world. We had Whitby planned, and I was so excited for Whitby because I was going to bring my dad and my mum as well. We had in May we were supposed to be flying out to America to play at a steampunk festival called Cogs, but that got cancelled. It's been put off to October. It's been put off till October, but we're like, do we want to go to America right now? So yeah, we're kind of in the air with October. I mean, it's hard I can't remember really what ones I've got coming up, because some are cancelled and some aren't. As far as I'm concerned, mentally, I've written off the whole year.
Yeah, that's just I have as well.
And if I get to play one in November, December, then amazing. That's great.
Yeah,
that's a bonus. But mentally, I think I need to prepare myself to go, I'm not playing this year.
Yeah,
because otherwise it creates false.
You get disappointed again, don't you?
Yeah.
My whole tour has been rescheduled for November time. I know.
I was going to come see you at the Water Rats.
But I'm still kind of 50-50 about whether any of that's going to happen.
Well, and it's also what environment do you want to play in?
Well, this is it, isn't it, as well?
It's like I don't want to be playing to a show of everyone separated and in their own square box, and I would do it if that was the option, but I'd rather not.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather the return of playing to be right. Where was we? Let's carry on where we left off. Forget that crap bit of 2020. This is where we are now. Let's have some fun, you know? But it's interesting. How do you think the gig scene is going to be after this?
I think there's going to be a lot more kind of sat down at table service kind of things where you have people sat in their own spaces with kind of people that are kind of a couple of meters apart, where they're not going up to the bar constantly and kind of drinks are being brought to tables. From my perspective, that works fairly well for me because I'm used to playing sit-down concerts anyway.
Yeah, because with your stuff, it's all about sort of listening to the lyrics.
Yeah.
With us, it's just take your pants off and. But do you think it's? I personally think it's going to make the music scene boom after this, purely through everyone's starvation of live music.
I hope so.
Because I remember you'd set up a gig, and people were like, oh no, I'll go to the next one, like very sort of blasé. But it'd be nice if after this there's a bit of a boom where people are like, you know what, yeah, I want to go out, I want to see bands, I want to do what I haven't been able to do because I've missed it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, one of my big worries is the number of venues that are still going to be open at the end of all of this as well. Because there's a lot of venues that are going to struggle, I think, and particularly with kind of lockdown restrictions.
I know. It's but we'll get to that bridge when we get there, won't we?
That's it, isn't it? That's it. I mean, luckily, our local venue has just they did a crowdfunding thing the other month for 20 grand. For 20 grand, they raised 50 grand, kind of over the month that they were doing it for.
Oh wow!
Which has kind of secured them in quite nicely for the foreseeable future. But I have looked at kind of other venues, kind of crowdfunding campaigns that are not doing as well as that.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. So moving on to kind of discussing politics now. You're quite vocal on social media with your politics. Because I personally find it really difficult to engage to the level that I notice you engage with people too. I don't like getting into arguments with people online. I find it exhausting and tiring. Do you not find it kind of?
Well, as of this weekend, I put up a status saying that I'm not going to be doing it anymore.
That's why I kind of brought it up, because I noticed that status.
Because the thing is that I was finding, I'm completely left wing, and I believe in the world should be a wonderful place. And the thing that I found is that I was spending hours on my phone, making myself angry on purpose. And it was making my blood boil. And then I would post a status going, "Stop being racist."
Yeah.
And then the thing I found was that, I've deleted loads of people off my friends list, because the thing I found is that it's you're either in an echo chamber, which is great, but pointless, because everyone's going, if you saying, I like cheese and cucumber sandwiches, and everyone's going, yeah, I like cheese and cucumber sandwiches, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. You're not changing anybody's mind. You're preaching to the choir, aren't you? Really?
Exactly. But what I found is that whatever I put up, there was always the whataboutisms and the, well, actually, and what I found so frustrating was how much it was, their view hadn't taken into account other people's, or it was uneducated. Like, there was no fact to it. It was an opinion. And they go, do your research. And you go, okay, where is this research?
Yeah.
Well, just do your research. Well, where did you get your info from? Because here's my info that I've put across here. Here are links to where this is coming from. I mean, there was one the other day where somebody said, oh, if you're taking down statues, why not take down the pyramids? Because they were built by slaves.
Yeah.
And I went, but they weren't built by slaves. And they're like, Yeah, they were. And I'm like, here is history pages about why it was not built by slaves. And they're like, yeah, well, yes, it was. And you're like, and so I just...
But also, I mean, the other argument, the counter argument to that as well, is that we don't live in ancient Egypt anymore.
I know.
And actually, we still live in the society that built all of this kind of thing and put these statues up.
I know. And it was, and it's not a celebration of a slave trader.
No.
And you know, I had a massive argument with my with a relative of mine, because he was like, "Oh, we shouldn't remove any statue. Like, we shouldn't be removing these statues." And I was like, "Wouldn't you prefer to have a statue of somebody amazing, like the first female British pilot, or, you know, a famous musician from your city, or something like that? You know, a statue of David Bowie or something. Wouldn't you rather have that than somebody known as they built a couple of factories or whatever, but they also kept slaves?" And I'm just saying, like, don't melt them down, put them in a museum and go, these are the good points, these are the bad points. But I think when you walk down your high street and you see a statue, it should inspire you. And, you know, people are saying, oh, it's removing our history. We still have our history. You know, we all know about the Black Death, but we don't have statues of rats.
I don't remember the last bit of history that I learned from a statue either.
No.
To be quite honest. I learned most of my history from films and documentaries and reading up on it, not from kind of walking by a statue.
And if you say to people, okay, what statues do you have in your local town? How many people would go, I don't actually know.
And who is that person? Oh, you know their name. What are they famous for? What do they do?
Yeah. And it's like, but if you knew there was a statue of a slave trader, you're like, do I want my city or town to be associated with that guy?
Yeah.
Just put it in a museum. Replace it. Like, I live in Dartford. If the Rolling Stones were from Dartford, that's where they used to it. That's where we got, like, replace it. I mean, I don't know if there is a statue of a slave trader, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, if there was, take it down, put it in a museum, and put one up of Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger, yeah. Keith Richards, there we go. Keith Richards.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. I'm finding it exhausting.
I'm just fed up of the hate. I'm just fed up.
I like to think that I will check myself as well. And there has been stuff that I've read recently, kind of people, you know, as a result of the whole Black Lives Matter protests and things like that, where I've read up on kind of what people are saying, go, oh, I've probably been guilty of doing that in the past. But rather than kind of jumping up and trying to defend it, you kind of go, I'm just going to try and do better.
Yeah.
And there seems to be this disconnect between people thinking that they're being got at and called racist or bigots or whatever. But it's actually, no, you just need to check yourself and actually make sure that you're doing better in the future.
Yeah, do better. You know, but what I was also getting annoyed about, you know, with where people, all these people saying all lives matter. Yeah. Now, I understand the sentiment behind it. There's no malice.
But that's
really
not why they're saying it. That's not why they're saying it.
Of course not. Like, the sentiment that they're going for is we should all help each other. But that's not, you know, as we've all seen the examples of, like, the burning house on, you know, that's the one you should save. Yeah. There's sentiment behind all lives matter. But then I was finding myself constantly correcting people. And I'm going, this is why you shouldn't say all lives matter. And I was a keyboard warrior, and I was burning myself out. I was spending, like, hours on my phone. Just, I mean, one of my, which I've sent a few messages, was there was this one particular group called Defend the Statues.
Yeah.
And it was this garbage pile of shit humans. And they were saying some disgusting things, you know, all this, oh, you should go back on the banana boat and there's no black in the Union Jack and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. Awful stuff. And so I went on their profile, found out where they worked, and sent their screenshot to their work.
Yeah.
I've stopped doing that because I was stressing myself out about it. But I did send that off to a few
activism there.
Well, the way it wasn't necessarily to get them fired. It was to make sure the employer knew the person they have working for them. Because if that person was in a position of management, they may jeopardize somebody else's chance of having a job, or if there was.
If they're working for me, then I wouldn't want them working for me, I think is the...
Exactly. Would you want a white supremacist working for you? No, not really. And if they were a manager, they, you need to hire someone. Well, they're only going to be looking at white people to hire. And nah, forget it. No, I'm just fed up of the hate. So, I still come in now and again to, make sure I know what's going on, but I've had to, put my phone in another room just so I can concentrate on where I should be now in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of going that you had kind of a health scare recently. First of all, we'll come to that in a second. You managed to nearly burn your flat down the other week as well, didn't you? I noticed.
Yeah. So I had my granddad's accordion. My granddad passed away about 12 years ago. I had my granddad's accordion on my side. I've had it there for years. And I had a candle next to it. And it was like one of the Yankee candle style in a jar.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize you're not actually supposed to let the candles burn down to the bottom. And a lot of people I've spoken to didn't know that either. You're supposed to leave like 10% left in. And what happened was, or to what I think of, so I was chilling out, playing Xbox. I had headphones in. And as to what I think, the candle, the little metal bit that holds the wick.
Yeah.
I think that caught on fire, which then started catching the jar on fire, which then caught the accordion on fire. And the flames from this old accordion, bear in mind it's covered in varnish and that sort of stuff. The flames were going up my ceiling.
You weren't in the same room at this point. You were in a different room, were you?
Yeah, no, I was in the same room, but I had headphones in. And I felt heat, and there was like a lighting change from where I was, and I turned around, and this thing was going up, and I could have burnt my flat down. I could have burnt the entire flat down. So I picked it up, and it's a big 120 bass note accordion. I picked it up, and I ran to the kitchen, and the sink was too small to put it in. So it's still flaming, and I then ran through my flat to throw it in the bath. It then started catching fire to the shower curtain. And then I managed to get the shower on and shower it down. Now, during this time, I was just going, fuck. My neighbour down below, Rob, a lovely guy, we've become really good friends, and he didn't know what was going on because he thought somebody had broken into my flat. And I managed to put it out, and I just burst out crying through just it all. I had black soot all up my living room, wall and ceiling, and the bathroom. And I had burns all down my arms. My thumb was just burnt. I had burnt the end of my nose, which is still a little bit red. And he didn't know what was it, so he just rang 999. And I've only lived in a 1-bed flat, and I had 14 people in my flat. Police, fire brigade.
Was this during lockdown, or was this kind of before that? Yeah.
And, they were all PPE'd up or whatever, all covered up. But yeah, so then I was showered down by a fireman shortly after. I had to go to A&E because they were concerned that I'd inhaled smoke.
God, yeah.
Luckily, A&E was empty at 2 a.m. on a Thursday. But yeah, and then for that next week, I just had all these blisters coming up, and it was a lot worse than I actually originally thought. It was, and I still keep having nightmares and stuff about fire. I've removed all candles in my flat. I keep having dreams about family members being burnt. It's really, really shook me up. But yeah, luckily it didn't burn the flat down. I got working in insurance. I've got good insurance on everything I own. So I sent in a claim and got a nice little payout from it and fixed all the flat up. That's all fine.
You're all right now, though. Because you also had the other health scare earlier. That was last year, wasn't it, that you had?
So it was December, yeah. You know, as us guys, we're all very stubborn, and if something's wrong with us, we never get it sorted out. We always just ignore it.
It'll be fine.
It's fine. So what happened was, there was a guy who I worked with, and this was around June last year, and he was only 38. A wonderful guy called Paolo, and we were just sitting at our desk at work, and next minute we hear some weird sounds from him, and he was having a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And he died in front of us in the office. And he had an underlying he had a heart problem that he had never gone to the doctor about.
Wow.
And he died in front of us in the office. You know, that's the last place you'd expect to die.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, sitting doing your work. You know, he'd sent me an email at 1:00 and he was dead at 3:00. So because of that and seeing that, really, so I had kept feeling this lump on my right testicle. And there's a lot of tubes and stuff going down in your sack, ball bag, whatever.
Yep.
And I just kind of ignored it. I just thought, oh, that's what it is. You know, that's just... But then I saw what happened to my friend Paolo, and I thought, well, he had an underlying health issue. I'm going to go check this out. So I went to the doctors, and she was like, I can't really feel anything. She said, I'll send you up for an ultrasound scan just to see. Yeah. So I went up there, and the guy was like, oh, not too happy with this, to be honest. I'll send you to a specialist. And it was literally like, I went to the first doctor on the Wednesday. I had an ultrasound on the Thursday. No, that was it. I went to the doctors on the Tuesday. I had the ultrasound on the Wednesday. The Thursday I saw a specialist, and he said, you've got testicular cancer. We can move it out, we can remove it tomorrow.
Wow.
And I was like, let me just process this first. And I had some gigs coming up, because he was like, you're going to be out for about 8 weeks, basically. And I had some gigs coming up, and it was like the last gig of the year and that. So basically, for me, just having this little lump, not thinking of it, to then find out it was actually testicular cancer. And I actually had 3 lumps on my right ball. And so luckily I had a full scan and everything. And luckily the cancer hadn't spread.
Yeah.
Now I'm only 33. And it just shows you that it can just happen. I asked, like, how do you get testicular cancer? And they're like, it just happens. There's not a natural thing. You can just get testicular cancer. So then I played my last show of the year. And then literally the following week, I went in for surgery. And they showed me this key ring of all the different testicle sizes that could be an option. Now, you know, most guys' balls, one is bigger than the other. And it was on my smaller ball. And out of this whole key ring of testicles, he had to get the biggest one. So I ended up coming out with bigger balls. And he said to me, yeah, we had to go for the biggest option. So well done. And but apparently, as I was coming out of the, not antibiotics, you know, when they put you to sleep.
Yeah.
What it's called. Apparently, as I was coming out, I went, can I have a pina colada? And then I also went, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, which is just drilled in my head from gigs. So it's all good now. I've just got to have regular checkups. I've got another CT scan at the end of June. And yeah, it's just, you know, it was so weird because there was no pain.
Yeah.
There was no like, oh, that hurts, or it was, and I only found it when I was in the shower.
Yeah.
You know, when it all relaxes. But yeah, luckily it hadn't spread. I didn't have to have chemo, radio. It was literally going in, cut it out, off you go. So yeah, luckily, touch wood.
So get it checked is the
yeah. So now on the Sinners page we have a thing called Feel Up Fridays. Which is just a reminder to everyone to check your lumps, bumps, and whatever, wherever it is, and go to the bloody doctors. I know people are scared to go to the doctors at the moment with the Rona flying about, but at the end of the day, cancer will also kill you. So get it done.
That's the other thing.
Also, check your poo. Check there's no blood in your poo as well.
Yeah. Important one.
Yeah.
So, on a different note, what kind of ventures have you got coming up then in the next year? What can we expect to see from Victor and the Bully or Victor Ghastly?
So
in the next year or so.
With regards to Victor Ghastly, it's still going, but that was more of a side project.
Yeah.
It's still just ticking over, and if I decide to write some electro swing or something, then it will go in that pot. Victor and the Bully, we've got a few things going ahead right now, and some stuff I haven't even mentioned on like my Patreon or anything like that. So I might as well talk about it now. So one of the things one thing we're doing is the Sin and Gin podcast.
Yeah.
Which has been going down brilliantly, and we'll have to get you on for the.
I'd love to come on. Well. Love to come on at some point.
Because I think you do it. We do a lot of games and silliness, and it's not necessarily talking about steampunk.
No,
some elements are, but it's all just about. We have like random facts and stories and games. So that's a big focus that we're working on right now while we're in lockdown, because that's a good. People are working from home and people like podcasts.
Yeah.
So one of the big things also that we're doing, we're bringing out a little EP called the Quarantini Sessions.
Okay.
And we've redone some of our Victor and the Bully songs in a different style.
Okay.
So we've got a song called Every Fight is a Food Fight for a Cannibal, which is normally quite sort of heavy going, but we've done it in bossa nova style. And we've done like Devil's Got My Soul, which is an electro swing song. We've done it in like a tribal, like dark sound. So we're just having these reimaginings. I think we're going to do a synthwave version of a song. And it's just going to be like a free EP that we've written for people to have on Spotify and that. We're not going to get it on CD. It's just digital.
Yeah.
So we're working on that at the moment, plus the new album. We're also going to be bringing out... now, this is a big thing, which we haven't announced yet. I don't know if you've seen on the Sinners page, we're like 1st of July, one society, two factions, choose your path.
I've not seen that. No, I've not seen it.
Oh, okay. So we've been discussing about the Sinners page is so active, which is in case listeners don't know, it's a Facebook page of just memes, basically, just everyone. But it's very active and it's got a great community. There's no politics involved. It's a very safe place and it's good escapism. So what we're doing, we're creating a thing called, we're changing it from the Sinners page to the Sinner Society. And we're going to have, we're creating two factions, a bit like Harry Potter houses.
Yeah.
So we're going to have House Infernum and House Cardinal. And people can choose their own side that they want to do. And then we're still working out the kinks and stuff, but we're thinking of doing bi-weekly challenges. So, it could be anything from create the weirdest sandwich and people will submit pictures, or like make a picture using baked beans, or just weird challenges. And they would submit their picture and say what house they're in. And then, so it's Nancy, who's, in Victor and the Bully. So I'm the head of House Infernum, Joe's head of House Cardinal. And Nancy's in the middle, will be known as the Watcher. and she will be able to choose the winner of each task. Then the loser will have to do a challenge, like do a shot of Tabasco, or something like that. and then we're going to have the scoreboards up in like the cover photo of the page, so we know like who's winning, and to create that rivalry, but like that fun, you know. And then we want to get like some little badges made, sort of saying like Sinner Society, House Infernum, House Cardinal. So people at gigs and stuff, we can then be like, all right, who here's House Infernum? Who's House Cardinal? You know, and create these like fun games against each other. So we like, you know, whether it's like who shouts the loudest gets a point. And we're going to get some little badges made for the winner of each challenge. So if someone creates the weirdest sandwich. One thing we're going to do is create facial hair without facial hair. Who can create the best beard
without actually using a beard?
So all these fun games that we're going to do bi-weekly or something, and then people can submit, and we have to do a forfeit. Well, Joe and I have to do a forfeit of whoever. So that's our next project that we're working on. It's just something a bit of fun, as well as all the music and everything. You know what it's like, end up burning the candle, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So if people want to find your music and the kind of the podcasts and also your
everything else
page,
so
where do they go?
Okay, so music, we're on Spotify, iTunes, all the usual streaming platforms that we're on all of them. Amazon Music, we're on that as well. Sin and Jim podcast is also the same, but we're also on it's on Castbox and all the podcast apps as well. There's normally an episode every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The Victor Ghastly's Electric Timebomb, all the electro swing stuff, is going to be is also on Spotify, iTunes, and that. There's a Patreon page where you'll be able to hear songs being written way before they're released, and even from like little sketches, and you can have your say into what you think the song should have or where the direction it should go. And the Sinners page is on Facebook. Just search for Victor and the Bully Sinners page.
Brilliant, and there is lots of interesting stuff on there as a member of that. So the final thing that we're going to have at the end of this then is our collaboration.
Yes.
So we'll sort that out and we'll get that kind of put on there.
Okay.
I'm not going to say what it is now because we'll clarify that and get that cleared up. We're still in skeleton stage. Yeah, it's still in progress at the moment, so it's not been decided completely what that's going to be. No. But I am going to end now and say thank you very much, Victor Ghastly, for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you as well.
I look forward to our next beer.
Here is our collaboration. Unfortunately, after this interview, Victor Ghastly injured himself on his skateboard and cannot play the ukulele for the time being. So instead, I've decided to play a song by Victor and the Bully called Midday Drinking.